This is what I like to call my top 7 must-haves when dialing for dollars. Truly, these are the things that you must have in place if you want to do an effective, a productive, and last but not least, a money-making dialing for dollars campaign. I was about to say driving. A dialing for dollars campaign. So, key. What is dialing for dollars? For the most part, it's simply taking the use of your mobile device or mechanical engineered device to initiate a phone contact with your sellers, buyers, renters, however you want to implement the strategy. That's the key. It starts off with dialing the digits. And I'm going to go into further details what I mean by this and how we're actually closing deals, getting leads, doing everything that was being done 12 months ago, 5 years ago, but we're doing it differently based on what we have in place right now. Let me show you what I mean. The shift. Truth be told, about somewhere around 12, 14 months ago, I noticed that my direct mail campaigns weren't giving me the same type of response rate that I've been normally getting. Now, the first thing I want you all to know is that you need to basically know your numbers. And what I mean by knowing your numbers, well, I had X amount of calls from this campaign, X amount of calls resulted in this amount of people wanted to sell a property, this amount of people wanted to sell the property, resulted in these amount of people we set appointments with, resulted in these amount of people we actually got the properties under contract, resulted in these amount of people we actually closed the deal with. Know your numbers. My numbers started showing me that my previous response rates, my previous campaigns for direct mail weren't producing at the rate in which they was previously doing the last 6 to 12 months prior. So in other words, I started to see almost a 20 to 30% decrease in the amount of leads we were getting from our standalone, straightforward direct mail campaigns. And we're doing direct mail campaigns at a rate of 1 letter per month for 12 months. Now, it could shift up with letters and postcards, lumpy mails, and so on. But I preached that strategy for years, and it worked for years. 6 months ago, I saw a shift. And now, we've came up with a new directive for our marketing campaigns. Now, let me be the first one to say, direct mail still works, but you have to work it in a manner that's going to be effective. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by that. So, a lot of people tend to lump the word skip tracing as one particular action. As a matter of fact, I know people out here who have businesses revolved around what you would consider skip tracing, which actually is known as record append. Let me tell you the difference. A skip trace is when you do an actual background check, or should I say an actual check on the person you're looking for. That is as detailed as past residencies, social profiles, friends, family, and relations, emails, telephone numbers, and so on. That's what is really known as a skip trace. So when someone say a skip trace, make sure they know what they're talking about. Because these days you get people lumping the word skip trace when it should actually be record append. And here's what a record append is. A record append is when you give a provider an actual name, address of a prospective lead, and that provider gives you an email address and a telephone number for that lead. That is not skip tracing. That is what's known as a record append. Now, what does all of this mean? What do it add up to? The tools. Because without the right tools, you will fall flat on your face and your results will make you broke. So I'm going to break down exactly what tools you should concentrate on based off of what we've done, what we're using, and what I have personally tested. I don't believe in making any recommendations on something that I have not used or have used by others that I know personally. So there's no alternative motive here. Just giving you guys quality information that you can use to excel your business. And remember, I want you guys to put those questions right in that box. We're going to get ready to get all the meat and gritty of all of this right now. So let's go back to the presentation. Without the right tools, your ability to do skip tracing is really non-existent. The first tool you should have in your arsenal, the most important tool that you should have in your arsenal, is the list. And what I mean by that, the list is the most important tool, because without the list, you have no way of appending or skip tracing the data that you have. So the leads that you're trying to get won't be even available to you without a good list. Our favorite, or should I say my favorite list provider, is a company by the way of Dunhill. Now, why do I love Dunhill? Because I've worked with them for about 2 years now. And even though the actual list stopped producing when it came to the metric that we were getting with direct mail, I knew that there was a change in the marketplace. It wasn't because the list was bad. It was because of the consumer awareness of the direct mail piece wasn't producing the way it previously were. So, with that being said, what I highly recommend you guys doing is pay close attention to whomever you're going to go to buy your lists from. Garbage in will give you garbage out. So, here's what I would like to call my top producing lists that we've used. Absentee Owners. Great list if you want to use when you're doing your marketing and so on. I mean, you got owners who live out of state or live in state but have a second, third, or fourth property, and these owners may be in a motivated state wanting to sell. Owner-occupied, especially owner-occupied who are upside down on their mortgages or who are in a situation where it could be a problem keeping up with mortgage payments, loss of job, and so on. We also love doing skip tracing and append searches with probate filings. For me, probate filings, we like to do that at live. And what I mean by that, we don't buy a list for our probate filings. We'll buy the list for absentee owners. We'll buy the list for owner occupied. But for our probate filings, we're pulling that live at the courthouse. I want that information where I can know that there is a house in the actual estate that we can basically buy if there's an opportunity there. So we're doing probate pulls for our dialing for dollars as well. Failure to pay rent notices. This is another one. Now, at the courthouse, you're able to get the telephone numbers of the landlords that is filing the failure to pay rent notices. So will you be pulling that information from an append company or a list company? No, you won't, because it'll be actually on the notices. You'll see the telephone number of the actual landlords. But this is one of the actual dialing for dollars strategies that we're executing. When we do driving for dollars, when we identify the actual neighborhoods that we're investing in, we're actually pulling the telephone numbers, the email addresses, and so on of those actual neighbors in that area. So in other words, think in terms of this. Think of the fact that when you're dealing with a neighborhood that is really hot, PG County, you got areas up there that are just blowing up. Baltimore County, Randallstown, Catonsville, you got areas that is just killing it. Why aren't you farming the whole area where you know real estate investors are basically rehabbing night and day, day and night, 24/7? So driving for dollars is another great way to use the append and or skip trace strategy. When you're dealing with distressed properties, think about this. The distressed properties I'm referring to are distressed properties when you're driving for dollars and you say, man, this is the worst looking house in this neighborhood. You know the ones I'm talking about. Those are the ones that you are basically doing and driving for dollars at. You're looking at the worst house in that neighborhood, and you're working that actual lead using these strategies. Expired listings. A lot of people don't even work this method, especially realtors. They love expired listings. But expired listings is a great source, a great lead source using the skip tracing strategy and the email, phone, landline append. And last but not least, for sale by owners. So when you're working and executing for sale by owners, wouldn't it be a lot easier if you can call that for sale by owner up? Send them an email. Now, all of these is a way in which you will save based on the negative outcome we're getting with direct mail. As a matter of fact, to give you just a little bit of what we're doing right now, how we're doing it, we're only averaging about 4 mail pieces per lead when we were doing 12 in a calendar year. That's how much we've dropped it down to almost 1/3 of the amount of direct mail we were sending out. And the savings is very, noticeable. The savings is savings you can put in your pocket. So keep that in mind. These strategies work to the point of not only are you saving money, but you're also increasing your ability to get leads and your ability to close deals. That's the bottom line. Now, what services do I like? What services have we used? What services have given us results? What services are giving results? That's the next magic question. Number 2. For skip tracing, there's nothing in my mind, in my opinion, better than TLO. Now, what I called skip tracing, I've already identified it, where you want a complete file on a particular person or a particular address. And when I say a complete file, I'm talking about email addresses. I'm talking about telephone numbers. I'm talking about social numbers. I'm talking about everything when I'm talking about getting a complete skip tracing file. So forget about that email append and some strategies. Your desire is going to be to get as much details about the person as possible, especially those stacked leads. Now, what is a stacked lead? A stacked lead is a lead that shows up on more than one lead report, or should I say list source. So if you have a lead that shows up on pre-foreclosure, and that same lead shows up on bankruptcy, and that same lead shows up on probate, or should I say absentee owners, that's a targeted lead. That's somebody that you want to find, and regardless of expenses. That's what I'm talking about, pulling out your skip tracing gun and pulling into TLO. Because that is where the money is at when you're talking about targeting, marketing, multiple levels deep. That's what we're doing. So, skip tracing, number one service, TLO. Don't get it mistaken with phone depends. Now, number two, Empower Solutions. I recently did a test, and that test consisted of 4 providers. The 4 providers was TLO, Empower Solutions. It was also DataZap and CSS. Now, for overall accuracy, TLO won hands down. But when it came to appending data, getting an email address and getting a phone number append, landline, mobile, Empower Solutions beat out DataZap and CSS. And this is the new kid on the block. This company is owned by Stephen Neville, and the leads were pretty decent. In fact, his cost right now for last time we checked was $150, get you 500 records, or $250, get you 1,000 records. Now remember, this is emailed and phone append. This is what you would call true skip tracing. Now, also, third place, or should I say, another good provider was DataZap. DataZap is another email and phone append company. Now, their cost was 8 cents per record for 1,000 records, meaning email addresses and also mobile and landline. Now, just like Empower Solutions, you only pay for what comes through. So if you don't get, for example, you only get 990 or 900, you're only paying for 900. The difference is that for 1,000 here, it's only $125. For 1,000 here, it's $250. So you have to decide, okay, do I want a higher probability or do I want lower cost? And you'll have to make that decision. Now, I got something for you guys. And I'm pausing because I think this is going to blow your mind. I just got finished telling you that the number one source for skip tracing is a service called TLO. And that's what we use. I'm going to give you an underground mad scientist hack that will tell you how you can get access to TLO. Do you want to know about it? Okay, here you go. Bam! My secret sauce. Upwork. 2 main providers out there when it comes to skip tracing is LexisNexis and TLO. In my opinion, TLO is the king of the hill, and reason being TLO actually gets the information, is part of TransUnion. So it's basically getting information from credit files, the credit bureaus. So you know how accurate most of them are, and most of the data that's in the credit files. So that's where the information is being propagated from TLO. It's from credit bureau. So they have a stringent process in order for you to get access to this data. I mean, they want to do a site visit. They want you to have an office where you have your actual records, your business with file cabinet locked in, office door locked, business set up, and so on. They want you to jump through all these hoops, and rightfully so, because you're getting pretty much the same information through TLO that you would get when you're working with a quasi-private detective. You're getting that kind of data. So here's my secret hack. You can go on Upwork and actually hire somebody who has access to TLO. I'm going to show you exactly an actual, because like I said, I always test everything, guys. I don't just throw stuff out there and open up brand new stuff and say use. No, I test everything. And I did that. Even though I have access to TLO, I went out there and see if I could hire somebody for TLO. And let me show you how I did it. I actually created this post right here. Inside of Upwork, you're allowed to create a job. The job is what will go out to all the freelancers. Freelancers are what you would call the VAs that's going to do the work for you. So my job title was this: Real estate investor needs skip trace freelancer with access to Lexis or TLO. The purpose of which will be data mining. Now, I told them that I only wanted to pay $125 for 1,000 records. That's all. And you must have access to TLO, and you must put the information in an Excel spreadsheet and deliver it to me, yada, 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 yada. And for all you guys that leave comments or your opinion about this webinar on the actual Facebook Live comment section, I'm going to give you this actual cheat sheet that I use to do this. So you're going to get access to this. I'm even going to throw in the actual providers if you like. Just leave a comment here in Facebook about this, or leave your questions, and I'll make sure I'll get you that information. So here's what happened. As soon as I post that job, I posted it for 5 days actually, and I got these individuals right here that said they had access to either LexisNexis and TLO. This guy said he would charge me $200 for 1,000 records. This guy said he could do it for 100. So think outside the box like a mad scientist. You are only limited by the limitations you put on yourself. I say this every presentation I do. As a real estate entrepreneur, as an entrepreneur, period, we don't get paid by hour. We get paid by thought. And I'm giving you some gems here today. Let's go to the next slide. The tracking. So you got your list. You have everything up and running now. You're thinking about, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? All that good stuff. Now it's all about how do you track the information that's going out? How do you track the calls that's coming in? How do you make sure the people that are on the phones are saying the right thing? They're using your scripts, and so on and so on and so on. Well, let me show you how we're doing it. My favorite tool for tracking the actual leads that are coming in And the process that we're doing is we will have the lead using a particular tracking telephone number associated with the actual agent and my companies who's going to be doing the actual cold calling and so on. And the system that we're using for the tracking and the numbers generation and the recordings is CallRail. Been using CallRail for over 2 years now. I use it exclusively in my business. I originally used to recommend for low budget providers or low budget individuals who don't have a good marketing or big side marketing budget to use CallRail, and I still do. To use CallFire if you don't have a big marketing budget. But CallRail in my company is something that we use for tracking all of our dialings that we do when the calls come in from our dialing system. Yes, it's coming in from our dialing system. And let me show you what I mean by that. To dial or not to dial? That is the question. No, I'm not going to start reciting Shakespeare here. What I am going to tell you is, you as the futuristic real estate entrepreneur have to decide, am I going to have my fingers do the walking? Or am I going to have an actual call center set up? Or I'm going to have a combination of both, an IVR dialer and a person doing the actual dialing of all these leads that you're pulling from your skip tracing and your email and phone number appends. My recommendation, based on my company using it, is Mojo Dollar. And what I love about the Mojo Dollar is the fact that, one, I can upload all of my lists inside of it. And I recommend either the 1-line plan or the 3-line plan. And that's for those of you who don't have the budget, who has the budget to have it automated through an actual persons doing your actual calls for you. I highly recommend you using your own list that you can pull from the different list sources I told you about, and also creating a script for those lists as well as an actual lead sheet for those lists. And as a matter of fact, inside of Mojo Dollar, I have 5 exclusive scripts that we use for our absentee. Each script is different too. For absentee owners, I use a particular script for our actual pre-foreclosure leads. We got a different script for our expired leads. We got a different script for our driving for dollar leads. And the reason why, your script is probably the second most important thing that you have inside of your dialing system or inside of your business when it comes to handling or dealing what you would call a dialing for dollar marketplace. Your script is highly important. So we have about 5 of them. Custom wrote them myself based on conversational style, having a conversation with the seller. You're not going to be talking to the seller as if you're reading off a book. You want to have a conversation. People like to do business with people who they like, know, and trust. So don't be the corporate know-it-all. Be the humble friend. Now, with Mojo Dollar, I'm able to do 300 calls. No, let me correct that. I'm not doing them. My team is. We're able to do 300 calls per hour. Process is simple. I mean, it is unbelievable what we're talking about here. This little thing right here, that's right, this little thing right here can do 300 calls per hour or about 90 calls an hour if you only get the one line. So think in terms of each line will give you a 100 calls or the ability to make 100 calls. Now, how does that process work? Well, this is what happens. You basically will have your phone and you'll key up the list that you want to call. And when you have your phone, you have to dial a number. And then the system calls you back and automatically starts dialing all those numbers. So you don't have to do the, oh, wait, I'm going to use my, no, you don't have to do none of that. All you have to do is hit the start button and hold your ear or your headphone or whatever you use, and the system will start calling. And every time there's a connection, you will mark on the system, contact made, busy, whatever. And here's the beautiful part about the system. You're even able to do what's called voicemail drops. So what I mean by a voicemail drop, I'm talking about where if you get a voicemail when you call, you hit a button and it sends that person a pre-recorded voicemail message. That is bad. Now I have to say that myself while you're on the call. And then the system knows that you're finished and it dials the next number and dial the next number when you finish that one and dial the next number when you finish that one at a rate of 90 to 300 an hour, depending on which plan you get. That's what I call dialing for dollars. Now, number 5. Okay, you started dialing. Everything is going great. You got your list, you're getting your calls, you got your team taking care of them, or you're taking care of them. Now you have what's called the drop. Well, where all these leads are going to? What's going to happen when you get these leads? Well, how can I keep track of them? Well, in my company, we've integrated our dialer and all of our lead integration to the point of being able to do voicemail drops. So you got your system where you're using it with Mojo Dialer, but you also want to have the capability of doing ringless voicemail drops on a predetermined date in the future. Now, I used to talk about this a lot. I used to talk about this to the extent where only one system out there I would recommend, because that was the system that gave me the best results. And you guys know that system. As a matter of fact, when it comes to calling sellers and cold calling and talking about drops and so on, no one else was talking about that 3 years ago but the mad scientist. Let's put that out for the record. Okay, now, my favorite drop system, or what we call in the industry RVM, or ringless voice message system, has changed. It used to be slide broadcast. Over the last 2.5 months, I started to notice a change in how the deliverability rate was going with our ringless voicemail drops. As a matter of fact, I would get reports that I couldn't hear the message. I only heard 5 seconds, or it started in the middle, and it was frustrating with my people who was doing the actual drops and actually getting the calls. So we went looking for another system out there. And here's what we found, and here's what we're currently using. It's called Stratix Network. Fantastic. And what I love about Stratix is this. It's only $99. You can get the pay-as-you-go plan, which is $99, and you get 1,400 drops a month. What is a drop? Well, 1,400 ringless voicemails put into people's mailboxes. So if you got 1,400 people and you want to give them a ringless voice message, what does that mean? That means that they will get a voice message in their phone, or where, and even do landlines, where the phone won't ring. It will go straight to their message, and they'll be able to hear your message and actually talk to you and give you a call from hearing your message and so on. Well, what's good about the system is that it doesn't intrude on what you would call the do not call metric or do not call list, because you can actually scrub the telephone numbers that you're sending out through the do not call list. Now, the other good part about it is this is going straight to voicemail. So it's not actually using the carrier of your company that the person may have. So there is no charge. You know how when you call long distance, if you don't have a long distance charge or service provider that gives you long distance for free, it could charge you? In this case, since it's not going through the main system of the service provider, but it's going straight to voicemail, there is no charge. So, like I said, Stratix Network, fantastic RVM system at a cost of $99 a month. Think about that, $99 a month for 1,400 ringless voicemail drops. That's what we're using in addition to our voice message drops. Now, we're at the point now where, man, what am I going to do? I got all this stuff written down on this. I got all this stuff here. I got all this stuff now. How are you tracking all this stuff, Charles? How are you making heads and sense of where all these leads are going at? All these different follow-up campaigns and so what are you doing for that? I know that's what you're asking, and that's where the catch comes into play. Here's what we've used. We're using Podio. And I have a whole developer that has developed my complete Podio system. And man, it is like butter, baby. I'm telling you, it's like butter. And what I mean by that, anytime we get a phone call, anytime we do a ringless voice message out, anytime we do a Mojo Dollar call, it goes into Podio. Now, inside of my Podio, we're able to initiate when that actual lead started and where that actual lead came from and who is actually running that lead. Is it my actual lead manager? Is it my acquisition officer? Is it one of my marketing members? Which one is running this lead and where this lead came from? And then it's actually handing out the task and even doing automatic follow-up and email and text message as well as voice blast, all with inside of the Podio system. Think about it. This is what I call complete automation. Oh yeah, mad scientist, baby. Doesn't get any better than this. So Podio is the catch. Podio is where all of our leads go in. Podio is where all of our propagation of all of our actions occur. When we go know exactly where each deal is at in the process, sends out emails, sends out texts, sends out voicemails. It goes through the whole process inside of Podio. Now, from that point, the release, number 7, the final top 7. Number 7. What is the release, guys? It's all about your automation from the point of inside to the point of constantly reminding and constantly making it happen to your sellers, buyers, renters, and so on. And for that, we are using Active Campaign for $20 a month for 500 contacts. Now, truth be told, my account is about $287. I got over 10, 12,000. Well, I got a lot. Let's put it like that. So I'm not paying $20 a month. But what this puppy will do for your business, man, it is fantastic. One key thing I want you guys to understand. In our industry, there's something what's called behavioral segmentation. And what do I mean by behavioral segmentation? Behavioral segmentation is being able to monitor and guide a person, meaning seller, buyer, renter, landlord, whomever, through the process in which that person actions as being derived. For example, if a person clicks on your link, they go in one direction. If a person doesn't click on your link, they go in another direction. If a person opens your email, they go in one direction. If a person doesn't open your email, they go in another direction. This is what we call behavioral segmentation. And when you do this properly, excuse me, when you do this the right way, when you do this the mad scientist way, you're able to guide that person from a cold to a hot lead and manage their every movement, engage their every desire. That, my friend, is what we call behavioral segmentation. Now, I got something special for you. We just started testing something else. We've been doing it now for 7 weeks, actually. And I've actually got one deal from it. It actually should be closing. It's a wholesale deal. It's only $8,000. But I saw this from another investor probably about 2 months ago. And I've been doing variations of this anyway. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about, actually, I'm going to hold off for a minute. I'm going to leave you hanging for one more minute. I need you guys to leave those questions there in the Facebook page. I want to hear your comments. I want to hear your questions. I want to hear what's on your mind. Put it in the Facebook page, and let's make some money together. So, my honorable mention is virtual bandit signs. Now, no, this is not a picture of one of my signs on the street. This is nothing more than an image where my team imposed a picture of Chucky Buy Lucky Houses sign on it. Now, you're going to say, well, what's so good about that, Chucky? Well, let me show you something. This is actually a virtual bandit sign that we place on Facebook. And here it goes. This is actually the demo version of it right here. It looks just like this inside of the news feed. And it shows up as a image ad with looks like a bandit sign that says Chucky Buy Lucky Houses. Well, get a fast, fair cash offer on your property in 10 minutes or less with no obligation to sell. And our little slogan is, we don't just buy houses, we build communities. That's our slogan for our company, our tagline. So when we get this in front of our targeted audience that we're marketing this to on Facebook, when they come to Facebook and so on, we also do retargeting with this as well. They'll see this ad, and if they want to sell their property and get a fast offer or want to get a fast offer in 10 minutes or less, they'll click right here, get a quote. And watch this magic, guys. Now, this excites me every time. They click on the button, and it automatically opens up. It's a Facebook lead ad. And I've introduced this to you guys probably about a year and a half ago. Facebook lead ad. And what happens, all they did was click on the button. And if they have a telephone number, email address, and phone number in their profile, Facebook automatically puts it inside of here. So they don't have to type nothing. Think about this. The lead doesn't have to type anything. All the lead has to do now is just click on submit. And when they click on submit, they'll go to my website, and I will get I will get a message inside of Facebook on an Excel spreadsheet with their information. Like I said, we've already gotten one deal off of this, and this is only 6 weeks. Now, our budget, $10 a day, $300 a month. Think about it. Think outside the box like a mad scientist. That's what I want you to do. Think outside the box. Now, this is Charles Blair, the Mad Scientist. I'm about to sign out, and I appreciate each and every last one of you for coming on this webinar. I like to say webinar, even though it's a Facebook Live event. But please, I hope to see you at the next Real Deal Meetup event. Remember, it's always the fourth Saturday of every month. Head on over to realdealmeetup.com, therealdealmeetup.com, to join our meetup group. We have the second largest real estate investing meetup in the nation. And like I always say, we give you quality information. No BS, no bull, and no gurus allowed. This is Charles Blair, the Mad Scientist, signing out, and I'll see you in the next video.
I'm making moves with the real deal.
Go! Bust a move, bust a move, bust a move, bust a move. Wholesale rehab, buy and hold. Flip that house, make your move. One time for the drill, drill, drill for the real deal. One time for the drill, real drill for the real deal. One time for the drill, drill, drill for the real deal. One time for the drill, real drill for the real deal. Baby, let's flip that house. Let's make your move. Baby, let's wholesale rehab, buy and hold. Let me see you move, move, move. Bust a move, bust a move, 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 move. Bust a move, bust a move, move. Giggity, get the feeling right with no pencil. What you ain't know about the values and the composure behind this emblem. End it up in the end zone. Touchdown, just dance. Feels like you just sold it home. Need one more grand slam. This time he says you can dance. Get the ants out your pants. Let's negotiate when we meet. Let's talk cash on finance. No 52, no Ray Lou. It's the real deal like we dealt you. Mad scientists and Brittany Calloway. She got the VA to help you. Family, friends, and friends, friends. Show them how you gon' have bins. Bust a move like it's some real estate. And flip the house and bust a move again. We was down with believing. Everything happened for a reason. It's good inside of this feeling. It's gold inside of this leaving. Michael Jackson, Billie Jean, and New York King of Queen. Tri-State D and Venus. Don't try to do to this feeling. Don't stop until a million. Chameleon with a billion. Times another billion. Have you ever heard of Quintillion? You see, move, move, move. Bust a move, bust a move, 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 move. Bust a move, bust a move, move. Wholesale rehab, buy and hold. Flip that house. Make your move. One time for the drill, drill, drill for the real deal. One time for the drill, real drill for the real deal. One time for the drill, drill, drill for the real deal. One time for the drill, real deal for the real deal. Baby, let's flip that house. Baby, let's make that move. Baby, let's wholesale rehab, buy and hold. Let me see you move, move, move. Bust a move, bust a move, 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 move. Bust a move, bust a move, move. Giggity, getting right to the deal since we left out. No bulls, no BS, all content, no filters. From Saturday at the Hilton, 6,000 real dealers. Baby, let's flip that house. Baby, let's make that move. Baby, let's wholesale rehab, buy and hold. One time for the drill, 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 the real deal. One time for the drill, real drill, for the real deal. We make zero interest, but good intentions. Serendipity, we keep on winning. Portal to a parallel dimension where all dimension is the winning vision. Wrapped up a deal inside this image. Contract closing cause I'm so exquisite. I am clutch like air shifting, no fortune builders, just real dealers. James Bond on a possible mission. The mad scientist, no competition. It's the real deal, meet up. Sit back, kick your feet up. Focused on the family cause Lil T wants to see us. Let me see you move, 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 move. Your power team makes real dreams transactional. Let me see you move, 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 move. General wealth builders, knowledge over 30 years. Wash, rinse, and repeat. I'm done with it. Bring in the chair. Move, move, move. Bust a move, bust a move, 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 move. Bust a move, bust a move, move. Wholesale rehab, buy and hold. Flip that house. Make your move. One time for the drill, drill, drill for the real deal. One time for the drill, real drill for the real deal. One time for the drill, drill, drill for the real deal. One time for the drill, real deal for the real deal. bust a move, 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 bust a move, move, move.